Hello everyone. Mm. Even though this weekend, I'm very grateful to participate in the online class. I think you want to play with your friend, your families, but uh, uh, it is unlucky to study mm, the government and market and networks. Anyway, just the even though we study now, um, 2 weeks later, you can focus on your final exam and writing your final paper. Also, you're gonna have the enough time to play after the final exam. Okay, so today we are going to study the characteristics of networks. What is the networks? So far we have learned the characteristics of a market and government. Also, we have studied the failures of market and network. No, sorry, the market and government. And just to understand the network, the characteristics of networks, we need to understand the historical trend of public reform in government or in the public service in order to produce social services, social good. The market and government have played the important roles in producing the variety of services. However, they have some problems causing a variety of failures. Therefore, the different approach was emphasized. What kind of different approaches? So except for market or except for government, the civil society, became very important to provide public social services, right? And then why is these types of different approach emphasized? Okay, so as I said, just we need to understand the trend of public reform. The people we studied the history of public reform. There are 4 stages of public reform. What are the 4 stages of public reform? What is the first stage of public reform? Okay, the first, what is the first stage of public reform? This is the minimum government. Before 1930s. In these stages, the government needed to play a very minimum role in producing social services, social good. Why? At that time, the people believed the power of market. As Adam Smith emphasized, invisible hand. Just a market could voluntarily produce public services. But the minimum government, failed to achieve its goal. Why? As we learned, the market failures, due to a variety of market failures, the minimum government did not work. And then, as a result of the failures of the minimum government, market failures, the human people experience Great Depression, right? And then, to overcome the Great Depressions, the different approach was emphasized. What is the different approach? Yeah, welfare state, or big government. Under the Great Depression, so many people were fired, and to save so many people, unemployed people, government invested public construction project. Also to save the poor people who were fired by their workplace. Government provide so many social welfare services and programs, and then inevitably the size of government has increased a lot. However, even though the government played a big role in overcoming the Great Depression, but it had the failures of government. We have learned a variety of government failures, and then just it was not sustainable because of the oil crisis in 1970s. Therefore, new approach was emphasized. What is the new approach? Yeah, that is the new liberalism or new public management. Just in this new approaches, the market principles was adopted, and then emphasized the outcome, performance of public services. Also, to overcome the problem of big government, the small government was emphasized. Also, to serve the monopolistic production of public services, the competition was emphasized by enhancing, by expanding the contracting out and outsourcing, right? But just new liberalism and new public management, do you think that it was successful to overcome the government failures? According to the general evaluation assessment of new public management and new liberalism, it was also failure. Most of scholars are very skeptical about the performance of new public management, market-oriented reforms, because it was not harmonious about the public, the government, right? Just to emphasize performance. What is the performance of government? It's very difficult to measure the public performance, as we learned. Therefore, performance-oriented reform, result-oriented reform was not successful. Also, competition is very skeptical. Just even though we implemented contracting out and outsourcing, fundamentally it was impossible to make the competition-based management, right? Contracting out and outsourcing, could not perform well. Therefore, the scholars and practitioners think about new approach to overcome new liberalism and new public management. That is new governance. New governance is the basis on the network approach. Why? In the new governance, a variety of social actors, social entities, including private company, government, public enterprise, and citizens, cooperate together to provide the good public services. Therefore, because the variety of actors exist in the new governance, structurally network was emphasized. So today we're gonna study the new governance, the characteristics of new governance as the structure of network. Okay, let's just see the lecture material. Okay, so here there are two videos, but technical problem. Just you can watch this video by yourself through the YouTube. Yeah, I hope that you will watch this YouTuber. Okay, so as I said, just this is the final outcome of public reform, governance. What is governance? Governance is kind of it's the variety of definitions. Structurally, it is network. Also, based upon the content, it is the process. It is the process of the interaction and decision making among a variety of actors involved in the network through cooperative and collective actions, right? If we define the governance like this, what is the new public governance? New public governance means just new way, new process of interacting and decision making to produce the public services. In the new public governance, a variety of actors participate in the new governance, and then the different actors cooperate with each other to produce public services. Therefore, new governance is called as a participatory or collaborative governance. And then in the new governance, different actors, variety of actors, produce public services or serve social problems on the basis of voluntary and cooperative collaborations. Usually, the different actors from government and market or civil societies participate in the producing public services. Okay, this is the structure of government, the structure of new governance. Government, civil society, and market, interact with each other in the new governance. Therefore, the outcome is a co-production. Also, structure is based upon the network because different actors are engaged in the collaborations within the network structures. And then two is based on voluntary coordination. Also, in the new governance, a variety of actors share the similar norms based upon trust and cooperation. If we define the new public governance as a process of interaction and decision making through collaborative actions among different variety of actors, including government, citizens, and private companies. What is the characteristics of new governance? Basically, the structure is based upon networks, because the different actors are engaged in the governance. Public enterprise, private enterprise, NGO, citizens, making some partnership to provide public services. Also, in the network structure of new governance, what is the role of government? Government kind of is just one of actors, because in the network structure, the actors are horizontal. Government is just one of the actors, but usually government has much knowledge and resources. So government play a role as a network managers, right? But the power of government is not absolute. Just the one of the actors, but then the government coordinate different actors to provide public services. Also, the new governance, the process is emphasized, right? Okay, think about in the traditional government, what is emphasized? Maybe input. Traditional government, input. What is the what is the emphasis in the new public management? Market-oriented government, maybe market government. What is the emphasis? Maybe performance outcome. However, in the new governance, process emphasized. In the new governance, actors, participants believed the good process lead to good outcomes automatically, because in the process people cooperate with each other on the basis of trust. Also, decision making is very trustworthy and transparent and legitimate and fair. Outcome is automatically produced in the effective ways. Also, in the new governance, horizontal relation is emphasized, right? In the traditional government, what is emphasized? Maybe let's say hierarchy. Hierarchy is emphasized, but just in the network, everybody is horizontal. Everybody equal, because all of participants are the actors in the equal in the collaborative governance, right? and then they freely interact with each other, share knowledge. There is no absolute, there is no powerful actors in the new governance, right? But just even though even though the participants are equal, fair in the new governance, but some actors are needed to coordinate it, a variety of actors. In this case, as I said, government play a role as a network managers to coordinate a variety of actors to kind of collect the different opinions, to coordinate the different opinions in the network. Okay, let's compare traditional bureaucracy and new governance. Maybe, as I said, traditional bureaucracy is the production of public services, public goods is monopolization production. However, in the new governance, just the public services are produced in the cooperative way. The participants such as government, citizens, new non-profit organization, non-government organization, and private companies, cooperate together to produce public services. Also, in terms of organizational structures, as I said, just the traditional bureaucracy vertical, and then the public service is provided in the monopolized way. And then just the bureaucracy, the government bureaucracy is kind of is based upon the hierarchy or centralization, because government bureaucracy is so large to make very fast communication and command. Just the government organization need to hierarchy. However, new governance is a little bit slow. Just it is based upon the horizontal relation structure, because to promote the collaborations, we don't need to ranks. We don't need high ranking, middle ranking, low ranking. Just everybody is equal, and then the decision making is decentralized, and the organization is not large and not official. Just small informal organizations cooperate with each other based upon horizontal relation. Also, in terms of management, the traditional bureaucracy, the control is emphasized. Also, input is emphasized. Just in the large formal organization, there are so many actors, public employees, and then just to produce some public services, the government need to control so many public employees. How? By rules, by strict rules. The traditional government try to control the so many public employees, but in the new governance, the rule is not important. Just the voluntary communication and horizontal communication is very important to produce good public services. Also, the process is very important. To coordinate, to interact with different actors. The process and procedures are emphasized, and then the good process result in good outcomes. Therefore, because the process is emphasized, the management is very open and participatory. It's based upon bottom-up approach. but in the traditional bureaucracies, management is in top down, bottom up. Right? So also in terms of bureaucratic behaviors, the traditional bureaucracy emphasize control, and public employees raises. They are seeking rent, pursuing rent, and then just to maximize their self-interest in the traditional bureaucracy. However, new governance is voluntary. Therefore, just in the new governance, the control is not important. The control is not needed. Just voluntarily, the actors participate in the new governance to provide the good services. They have high motivations, intrinsic motivation, internal motivation, right? Also, we can compare between the new public management. What is the new public management? This is market oriented reform. This is these are two types of public reforms which were recently adopted, but they have similarity and also have the differences, right? Okay, so what is the first? What are the similarity between new public management and new public governance? Just new public management and new public governance have been adopted to overcome the big government such as welfare and state. And then two approaches emphasize decentralization, empowerment. Usually and the NPM emphasize internal empowerment, but the new governance emphasize external empowerment. NPM empowers top level officials' powers to middle or low level within bureaucracy. bureaucracy, right? However, in the new governance, the government monopolized production is decentralized to private actor, market, or civil society, or citizen. Right? This is the outside bureaucracy, the empowerment outside bureaucracy, right? Because the monopolized production of government services is decentralized, empowered to the private actors. Also, the second similarity between two reform approaches, it is difficult to distinguish between public and private sectors. NPM, the changes public sectors into private one. Also, new governance, produce or provide public services by utilizing private resources, right? But the approach is a little bit different. Even though they borrow some characteristics of private management, NPM just imitate to private management. However, new governance try to utilize private resources in order to produce good services, right? So there is a little bit difference, even though both both borrow the characteristics of private organizations, right? NPM just borrow private management, competition or performance management, but the new governance does not borrow the private management such as competition and performance management. Just the new governments just borrow the private resources, private knowledge, private passion, private the private resources, private contributions to make good public services. But just even though they have some this kind of similarities, there are clear differences between new public management and new public governance. And then just these are very important. NPM, this is in the market-oriented reforms, theories. NPM is based upon the new institutionalism, public choice theories, and principal agent theories. In contrast, new governance is based upon social capital, NGO, and citizen participation theories. The new institutionalism's public choice theories, principal agent theories is based upon the individualism. Just like private employees, public employees try to pursue their self-interest, and then just the NPM explain the private explain the motivation of public employees on the basis of their self-interest. Therefore, to make good performance, to produce good outcomes, intrinsic and internal motivation is not important, because internal motivation is not internal motivation and internal reward cannot motivate public employees to work hard. And then the economic incentive, monetary incentive are very important to motivate public employees. However, new governance, emphasize the internal motivation. The new governance is based upon trust and corporations. To cooperate, what is needed. Just this is in the new governance, voluntary motivation are very important. Just through the economic and monetary reward incentive cannot motivate the actors, the variety of actors in the new governance. Therefore, in the social capital, NGO, citizen participation theories are emphasized. Also, in terms of management, NPM, what is important in the management of NPM? So C2C, new governance in agile emphasize collaboration is very important to make good management. But the NPM, what competition, right? To good outcomes, to make good outcomes, the different actors need to compete. However, new governance, to produce good outcomes, different actors need to collaborate. But also, in terms of unit, as I said, just NPM, the NPM is micro, very narrow, And then the reforms is emphasized within organization, right? The between boss and subordinate, between the central government and local government, between high-ranking officers and low-ranking officers. But in the new governance, this is macro approaches. Outside the government, there are different actors: private company, citizen media, and non-government organizations. They are located outside government. Therefore, here the corporation happens outside government. Therefore, inter-governmental corporation are very important beyond the government, beyond the boundary of government. Also, in terms of values, NPM, what values did emphasize? What values did NPM emphasize? Yeah, economy. Also, efficiency. However, new governance in effectiveness and equity are emphasized. Also, as I said, just NPM, new institutionalism and public choice theories emphasize the individual public employees' self-interest. Therefore, external incentive, economic, monetary reward are very important to motivate individual public employees. But in the new governance, voluntary motivation, internal intrinsic motivation are important. Just different actors, citizens are voluntarily participating in the participatory mechanisms, right? Nobody force citizens to participate in the citizen participation programs, right? They participate in the citizen participation programs voluntarily, right? Also, managerial trait, the NPM emphasize management, and then just NPM has strong managerial trait. However, new governance emphasize process and relation between the different actors, and then the new governance has weak managerial trait. Also, NPM, because it emphasized the management, just NPM does not have a high level of political NPM have the weak political trait. NPM does not consider the politics, but the new governance consider the politics very important, because in the new governance, a variety of actors participate in the governance, and then the political communication, political behaviors happen, because within the network structure, the structure of networks, the people, variety of groups and people exist. And what is the definition of politics? As we studied the definition of politics, the politics means the process of decision making through a variety of groups. Therefore, new governance has the strong political trait, because the different groups are engaged in the new public governance. Okay, so from now on, we will study the theories explaining new public governance. The social capital theories and NGO theories and citizen participation theories, explain the characteristics of new governance. So here, just before I study, before I explain the theory of social capital, NGO, and the participation, let's break a time. Let's break a time, and then I will record the lectures again. Okay.